Welcome to the Speed League podcast from Southern California. I'm Kelly Hansen. Nashville Supercross, East-West Showdown. It was pretty wild. We're going to talk about the race, our fantasy picks. Fantasy was actually pretty eventful this week. You can play for free if you're not already, speedleaguefantasy.com. It's a totally free, totally unique game. You play with 4 friends. Pro motocross season is coming up really soon, so be sure to sign up for that. I'm here, as always, with the man, the myth, and the legend, Ryan Berkman.
How's it going, everyone? Before we get started, if you can please like, comment, subscribe, all that fun stuff. We're just trying to put together a free fantasy site for you with some free analysis on this podcast. So if you could show us a little love, we would greatly appreciate it. But yeah, that race was awesome. I had fun seeing the two coasts go head to head, and it was everything that I wanted in a racing event.
But I mean, what was going on? I mean, was there a full moon? Mercury in retrograde? I mean, we just had an eclipse. Maybe that played some part in it, but it was just wild.
Yeah, there was a lot of crashes, a lot of top guys not finishing where they're supposed to. I mean, a lot of just bad luck. I mean, like Roczen, there was nothing that he could have done differently. Just his shot gave out on him. And it seems like with Roczen, though, I mean, it is always something to do with his bike, whether it's, like a hole in the radiator, a blown shock, he stalls it, has to kick it. It just seems that something with Roczen and Suzuki isn't really vibing, and hopefully he's all right. But I really hope, I've been saying this all season long, I hope that he could find a new team next year. And I think that he'll be winning races and definitely be in the championship hunt on a different manufacturer.
Yeah, I mean, this was a weird one, though. I mean, I don't think I've ever really seen anything like that happen. I mean, he came down off that jump, and you saw the moment he hit the ground, that thing just exploded. And yeah, it's a shock issue. I mean, I'm sure that's just whatever independent company is running the suspension on that bike, but a weird freak accident.
And I looked to see if maybe he cased the jump really hard or came down awkward, but he landed. I mean, down the face of the jump where everyone else was landing. So it's weird that it decided to blow in that specific spot, not being under a intense amount of pressure. But I mean, again, I know that it's an independent contractor, but I mean, it just seems that Suzuki every time, I mean, even in that race, he stalled it going around the corner. I'm like, oh no.
Yeah, I was going to say he was kicking it in the heat race.
And of course he has to kick it, but I don't know. I mean, hopefully he's okay. I know that tomorrow, Monday, he's going in for some X-rays. I mean, some people were saying that they thought it could be an Achilles. That would, definitely be season ending. I know there's only a few races left, but how devastating for Roczen, man.
I know, and he was riding really awesome. He was actually, after I watched the 250 heats, and then I saw he was in the first 450 heat, I believe. And just seeing him ride around the track, usually I feel like I don't notice that huge of a difference just visually in the speed between the 250s and 450s. But as soon as I saw Roczen in that heat race, I was like, oh my gosh, he's going way faster than those guys were.
Yeah, and in the main too. I mean, he had the speed to win the main. I mean, I know that obviously there was a lot of time left when he had that little mishap, but he was riding so good, so aggressive. I mean, he was pushing it almost harder than I've seen him push it in a long time. And I think that he would have come out with the win for sure, a podium. But yeah, he was fast all night long.
Yeah, I'm not saying the win. I totally agree with you on the podium, but I also thought that Tomac looked insanely fast at the beginning of that main. And I mean, obviously Roczen was behind him and was going to have to go through Tomac. And then we saw what happened, obviously after Roczen went down with Jet coming through and then just pulling away in typical Jet fashion. But I mean, Tomac at the beginning of that main was riding like Tomac of old. I mean, beast mode. You can see just visually in the way that he rides the bike when he's comfortable, how much he just hangs it out rather than tiptoeing around. And I was definitely seeing that at least the beginning of that main event.
Yeah, so he got the whole shot and was actually pulling time on Jet at a certain point, and he was looking good, but then, kind of halfway through the race, Jet passed him and then started to leave him. I mean, do you think that was just because Jet, like figured something out and like is faster, or do you think Tomac was like getting a little gassed now that he's a little later on in his career, or like what do you think, like what switched to where Tomac pulling time and then Jet just left him?
I don't know if it's gassed because I mean Tomac's physical conditioning has always been really good. I mean the one thing that he has an issue with that is the arm pump, but I don't really see that happening here. But he may have just lost a little bit of that feel in the pace, but also at the same time, I think it was Jet. At the beginning, he had a so-so start, mixing it up with some other people coming through the pack. But then, and they were talking about this on the broadcast too. Once he just finds his flow, gets some space on the track, and is able to just, nail lap time after lap time, he's just kind of on a different level. And I mean, yeah, we see that with Webb. Webb finished so far back in this race, and um, Jet is clearly faster, and it's awesome that Webb is still in this championship at this point and fighting for it, just because he's got the starts, he's got the consistency, and is very fast. But I mean, this is Jets to lose at this point, this championship.
But the reason Webb is still in this like championship hunt at all is because he knows when he has third place speed, he will get third. When he has second place speed,
Yeah.
he will get second. And he never pushes it, never rides over his head. He like knows, exactly his night, what he's shooting for. And I mean, like third, yes, that like now puts him, in like second in the points again. But I mean, all it takes now is just, again, one mistake from Jet, one bad start from Jet, and like Webb's right there again. So I do love how Webb's riding smart and just taking what the race is giving him.
Totally. And I mean, as we can see from this whole season that's already happened, obviously anything can happen. And Webb is positioning himself as best he can to just take those opportunities as soon as he sees them. But I mean, you would agree at this point, this is Jets to lose. He has the power to win this as long as he doesn't make the mistakes.
I like really believe that probably back week 5 in like Detroit. I mean, like I like knew that this is Jets championship to lose a long time ago, and it hasn't really panned out like I mean, I thought Jet was just going to run away with it, but the fact that Webb has like kept it so close, I'm like so glad that we're going down to these last 3 races of the season, and it's not like Jet can just coast around. Oh yeah, if he gets ninth, he still wins the championship. I'm like glad that it's coming down to the wire. Because like really that's the best racing at the end when like every race matters. That's the race that the fans want to see. So I'm super stoked that it's coming down to that.
Yeah, I think this is completely Jets to lose. And Webb is going to be around there. Sexton was around there, but I mean, he kind of might have just thrown it away.
Yeah, and like really Sexton is like doing like the opposite of like what I was praising Webb for. I mean, it seems like, Sexton is putting himself in like bad positions. Like I know that he finished second last week. It looked like okay, everything's going his way. But yeah, this crash this week really, really hurt him, and it put him behind Tomac in points. And I feel like Sexton doesn't even have a chance anymore. I mean, he's like maybe trying to catch Tomac to get the podium of the championship. But yeah, I mean, Sexton's out of it at this point.
Yeah, and he was playing from behind already. I mean, was a decent amount of points back, and I mean, this main event, he was back in what, fifth or whatever it was when he actually went down, and looking like he wasn't going to have the speed to track down the guys at the front. And with that points hit, that's probably going to be it for Sexton on a little bit of a disappointing season. So. Sexton, obviously with the crash, it sounds like he's going to be okay and be coming back next week, but obviously in a bad position. And then, yeah, that's bad times for the KTM team with Plessinger being out for the season. But Plessinger did re-sign with KTM for next year, which I was actually really stoked to see.
Yeah, and I mean, really, Plessinger on the KTM. I mean, freaking kicking ass, doing everything that like KTM could expect, and like the bike's doing everything Plessinger can expect. So I think that's a good symbiotic relationship, and they should, kick ass next year once he heals up and comes back ready to go.
Totally. Okay, is there anyone else specifically you want to talk about in the 450s?
Quick shout out, shout out. I mean, like, don't have too much to say, but like Barsha with a fifth. I mean, I was super impressed with how he's like turned around his like season, and he was kind of mid-season getting 12ths, 14ths, 18ths, and it's nice to actually see him semi getting back into last year's form. He got a sixth 2 races ago and then a fifth this race. So, I was glad to see Barsha on the gas again.
It's encouraging, but at the same time, fifth place with Roczen and Sexton crashing out. Two guys that definitely would have been finishing in front of him. So a little bit of a gimme, but yeah, I mean, he's been running around ninth or 10th. I have him on my team. So I mean, even if those guys had stayed in, that still would have been a decent bump. The one who's really wildly out of place is Benny Bloss with an 8th place finish for Benny. That's a wicked finish on the beta.
Yeah, it's his best finish all year, and to get those top tens, it's a nice pay boost from all your sponsors and your teams, and also a confidence boost going into next week. So, Benny
Yeah,
Blouse.
they were showing him on the broadcast a little bit. He is so tall. He's huge on that bike. It literally looks
He's
like
like
he's riding like a
6'5".
TTR 125. I know, he's enormous. It's and like I'm 6'2", and I feel like I'm actually kind of big on a dirt bike a lot of the time, but that guy literally looks like he's riding a pit bike around the Supercross track. It's wild. Um, okay, Benny Bloss. And you know what? Also on Benny Bloss, he's on the beta. Teammate Colt Nichols, also on the beta. I picked him up on my fantasy team to replace Aaron Plessinger. He didn't even make the main.
Yeah, it was
So,
rough.
I mean, really good finish for Benny when Colt Nichols, who, I mean, honestly should be a better finisher, is not even making the main event. So, okay. Should we talk about the 250 Showdown?
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Okay. So, yeah, my 250 team, which we spent probably 5 minutes praising on the last podcast, completely crumbled. Levi Kitchen, who you had picked as your podium pick, had a rough heat race and an even rougher main event.
Yeah, and like really when I saw the crash live and like then they like played it back and I saw his neck get ran over, I mean, I like literally was like wincing. I was like, oh, dude, freaking, he's gonna have a broken neck. He's like out for the season, championship gone, and like seeing him just like lay there almost in the like fetal position, I was getting really worried and getting bummed out for him. But he ended up hopping back up and he passed a few people and like finished all right. But like hopefully, I mean, I know they were saying something about possible broken ribs or this and that. I mean, hopefully he could come back and I mean give a like run for the championship, because really, I mean, he is the like fastest guy out there, and I was hoping that I got to see him battle with like RJ and like Vial, some of those top guys, to like try to win this thing. But yeah, it wasn't Kitchen's night, and I hope that he's okay.
Yeah, and we'll wait and see on what the exact news is, but he seems like he's sort of in a questionable state. Fortunately, he doesn't have to race next weekend. It's going to be an East race in Philly, I believe, but then back for 2 weeks in a row to round out the season after that. So, look, man, I need him bad. I mean, he's basically the number one guy on my fantasy team right now, and I'm going to need him in this championship against Whole Shot King, who is now clinched his championship spot with that win against you. You're officially eliminated from the championship. How are you feeling?
Not good. I mean, this whole season really didn't end up how I wanted it from like start to finish. I mean, I feel like even 4 or 5 weeks ago, I was just on like Whole Shot King's coattails, trying to catch up, trying to squeeze out a win, and it just didn't pan out for me. It's like some years I win, some years I get unlucky, but it'll never stop me from coming back next year with fire in my eyes, trying to take it to all you guys. So I'll be back next year ready to go. Watch out.
But still going for the consolation third place
Yeah.
matchup for anyone who's playing. Even if you're eliminated from the championship, you will still play the last race of the season. Third and fourth place play each other, and that will decide who gets third and who is fourth place with the shame. And we charge fourth place in our league. They have to pay in extra money.
Yeah, so we charge 4th place at an extra $25, and then that will go to the person that has the most season-long prediction points. And I think, like, that's a cool thing to, like, reward the guy, that's been setting their, like, lineup, really looking at qualifying, looking at trends, and, like, gets that top prediction spot. And it, like, charges last place, because if you get last place, you obviously, deserve to get some type of humiliation. So we don't have you stand in a skirt on the side of the road like some of the fantasy football guys, but like $25 we think is shame enough.
Yeah, we could start selling some of those. What do they have? Like the little pink vanity license plates that say "I suck at my fantasy league." I
Supercross.
always see those for football. Yeah, yeah. Um, but yeah, and totally, rewarding the person that gets the most prediction points. That really is kind of the greatest measure of how good you are at fantasy and playing the game is how well you can predict your riders finishing. But anyways, that's going to be coming up in a couple weeks. Some people might still be deciding their leagues. I'm sure a lot of people are. It'll come down to the wire. Okay, so going down this the rest of this showdown, obviously the pro circuit Kawasaki's with just the big sad face. Kitchen rode great to actually end up 14th after coming together with McAdoo at the beginning, but McAdoo had to ride off the track and take a 22nd place. Both pro circuit Kawasaki's come into this leading the championship and walk away losing the lead of the championship.
And they were the like poster boys of this whole, event. I mean, like, everyone wanted to see them, and duke it out, East versus West, who's the like top dog,
Both of
points
our
leaders.
podium fantasy picks
Yeah.
from last week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Red plate holders coming in, and they both kind of shit the bed, but I mean, that happens. That's a Supercross. But someone that didn't shit the bed was RJ Hampshire. I mean, they like talked a lot, about RJ was saying this is like a must win for him. He's just focusing on his starts, focusing on the, track, and like trying to get that win to like boost him in the points. And he really showed up and did everything that he tried to do and like wanted to do. And now he's first in the like championship points by like 2 points. And it's funny because like preseason, we had Hampshire ranked as the clear number one favorite for this championship. I mean, last year he was, second to
Yeah, this
Jet
is what
pretty
he was
much
supposed
every
to do.
race. Yeah, like we thought, okay, lock RJ Hampshire. And almost I even thought about picking him
Yeah.
up, early, because I knew, okay, that's a lock pretty much for like first every week. And it didn't end up that way. I mean, second race of the season, he got a ninth, third race, sixth. And you're like, what is going on with RJ? Is he not the like championship guy that we like thought he was? But then, it's over time, like the law of large numbers, the more races that go, the more consistent he is. And he's really pulled it out. And now he's like probably the favorite to win the like championship, with like Kitchen coming back, with maybe some like bruised ribs, and like Jordan Smith is like actually pretty far back for only 2 races. So I mean, for sure, RJ cemented himself as this year's favorite.
I definitely agree that Jordan Smith just took a hit and is going to have a harder time. But with Hampshire and Kitchen being as close as they can, assuming and hoping that Kitchen can come back pretty close to full health, I don't know. He still, I mean, has been dominant enough that I would, at full health, I would consider Kitchen the favorite still, as close as they are on points.
Yes, but he is hurting right now. I mean, even if he does come back and then all of his interviews, oh man, I feel great. Everything's okay. He is bruised and hurting and is not himself. So I mean, for him to come back at like let's even say 80% or 85%, 90%. I mean, I don't think that you can go head to head with 100% RJ Hampshire. I mean, that's tough.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, look, I just hope for the sake of the racing that Kitchen can come back as close to 100% as possible, because that's going to make this wrap up in the most exciting way.
We will see. Can't wait for the next East West showdown. I'm like curious, like if RJ is gonna stick it to all these guys again. I like hope so actually, but we
Yeah,
will see.
yeah,
Um,
and yeah, I mean, This was him riding like he did. I mean, we saw him come out at Anaheim 1 and do basically what we expected and then have the dip. So, no, it's awesome to see him back. And Joe Shimoda finishing second, doing closer to
Crazy.
what we expected him preseason also.
Yeah, and it's funny because like you would think that, in these like east-west showdowns, it like seems like all those fast guys will just kind of filter to the top, but I like kind of realized as I was watching it is like it's like almost the like opposite where like in a like normal week, if a like top guy gets a bad start or like, kind of falls over on the first turn, it's like he could get up and like pass his way up to fifth, fourth, maybe even a podium. But like when there's so much competition, I mean, like if you aren't up there the first lap, I mean, it's like almost impossible to like catch back up, So like seeing Joe got a good start, um, and just like ended up getting second, his like best finish of the whole season in a East-West showdown. So it's almost counterintuitive, but I'm like stoked for Joe.
Totally. And then Vial, I think, being the top 250 East rider, finishing third. A good ride for Vial that seemed like a Vial style track, really technical, almost Marvin Muscan esque. Vial up on top. I mean, obviously capitalizing in a huge way on McAdoo going down. He's got to be championship favorite for the East and coming back next week, I expect, right?
Not only is he championship favorite, but he is my podium lock of the week. Coming off of, like a podium this week, East West Showdown, taking over points lead. Like his main competition, not 100%. I mean, he has all the momentum in the world. I mean, I think he's going to come out next week and just ride like he's the man, ride like he's the top dog. And probably next week, I would predict Vial second, but by all means, I could see him just going out and like winning the thing.
Yeah, I mean, especially if depending on the status of Cameron McAdoo, whether he's going to have that competition. Hayden Deegan's kind of the only other person that you would maybe think is going to be up there. So I'm going to back you up. Also, my podium pick for next week. I mean, Philadelphia. Tom Vial is a hard lock as one of the top guys in Philadelphia, and maybe going to wrap up this championship, which we did not see coming at the beginning of the season.
Who would have thought? I mean, it's funny because I mean, like football and even F1 have big betting markets for like who's the like championship guy, who's going to do this, who's going to do that. I mean, Supercross doesn't really dabble in that too much, but I would be so curious if like there was Vegas odds makers making, okay, who is going to win this championship, what the odds for Vial would have been, because he had to have been way down there. I mean, like Smith above him, Hampshire above him, Shimoda above him, Deegan above him, and I mean, it like seems like that. You would have made a pretty penny if you would have bet on Vial.
Definitely. Yeah. I wonder where we had him ranked, probably around sixth or something like that in the East Coast. So good on you, Vial. This is shaping up to be a cool season for him. Hayden Deegan back in sixth place, had a complicated night. That dude was riding backwards up the landing to the finish line jump in his heat race.
I know, and it's funny. It seems like every week he has some, wild little shenanigan that he's doing. He's like flipping it around, facing backwards on the track and gassing it a little too hard. He like rides balls to the walls every race, every lap, every turn, and he is fun to watch. And he's definitely one of the most exciting riders because he's always, just pushing it and pushing it. But yeah, I mean, really, sixth place wasn't, I'm sure, where he wanted to be when he was visualizing this race. But I mean, definitely, it's like you like look at Hampshire though, and you look at some of these other guys. I mean, this is going to be Deegan's, class for the next 2 or 3 years before he like moves up to like 450s. I mean, he hasn't been super consistent, but like with time, with age, with experience, I mean, he's going to definitely be the championship favorite here, like next year and the year after that.
Yeah. I mean, he's entertaining to watch, if nothing else, but it's sort of what you expect out of someone who's obviously very fast, but very, young like him. Man, that move going, I mean, jumping off the landing of that finish line jump. Can you imagine if someone had just is coming off that jump, coming to the inside and there's nothing they could do about it? Like that could have been a serious incident. I mean, head on as in head to head.
Yeah, and it's funny because it seems like he didn't even like think twice about it. He was off the track and he said, "Okay, perfect. I'm just gonna transfer, on here onto the other part of the track." Didn't even think twice.
Yeah, like he's Kevin Windham in opening ceremonies. But yeah, I mean, that's the Deegan freestyle mindset, I suppose. Okay, who else we got? Yeah, Jordan Smith was like my poor fantasy team this week is like at one point he was the only guy I had running inside the top 10 and he was in like third place and then just tips it over into a tough block at some point. And I was like, what the fuck is going on with my team this year or this week? But yeah, underwhelming from Jordan Smith. Where is he at in the championship now? I'll check.
Let's see. Third.
Jordan Smith is now 148.66. Oh yeah, he's third, but 16 points back with 2 races to go for the West. That's going to be a tough one. I don't really see it.
Yeah, like really, I mean, to me, it's like he should not, worry so much about second, but like worry that like Shimoda doesn't pull some ninja moves on him and like pass him for that third spot in the championship points. Cause like really, I mean, there's like 2 races left and like Joe's coming off of a second place, second place in a row. I mean, if, freaking Smith slips up, I mean, he could really lose that third place and to go from being, like one of like the championship favorites and like starting the season second, first, third, podium, and then kind of petering off and only had 1 podium in these last 5 races. I mean, that would be very, very disappointing for Jordan Smith.
Yeah, and if you look at the points, Joe's 10 points away. I mean, Joe is closer to Smith than Smith is to the top 2. And yeah, I'm looking at Joe Shimoda's recent results graph right now, which if you're on the site, if you want to click on a rider's name anywhere, you'll pop up with this chart of their recent results. The last 5 have been 4, 3, 3, 2, 2. I mean, Joe is on the rise.
Podium machine lately.
It's rad. Okay. Julian Beaumer, I've got on my team. It went 7th the last 4 rounds and then managed to pull out a 9th, which is pretty good and averaging up. If you're thinking about an East-West Showdown combined, he's looking really good. I picked Cody Schock as my deeper pick last week. Again, it's really hard in these Showdown rounds to get predictions right because we have the 2 coasts combined, but I went 11th place. Cody Schock got a 12th, pretty close there. That's a good ride for Schock on the Club MX that he just re-signed for.
Yeah, totally. I mean, it like seems like, when it's a like showdown, it's just so hard to like predict and like really to get one spot off on an East-West Showdown. I mean, that's as good as almost you could hope to do because it's just so hard and like so many things going on with like so many fast guys. So like props to you, Kelly, on a nailing that one off.
Well, thank you. And then the other one to mention too is Phil Nicoletti, who just announced his retirement, pulls off a top 10 in the East-West Showdown. That's a good finish.
Yeah, it is. And like really now that you got me thinking about last week, I believe that my deeper pick was Malcolm Stewart. And I believe that I picked him 7th or 8th. I said live on air. And he ended up getting a 7th. So we both actually did pretty well on our deeper picks. So listen up, guys, because Kelly and Ryan.
Wait, hold on. Malcolm Stewart? You're looking at something wrong. Malcolm Stewart got 9th.
Oh, 9th. I was looking at Hunter Lawrence. My bad. But still, 8th, 9th, 1 off. Boom. I said it. 1 off, baby.
And I think actually when you called that, I said I was going to go a little closer to 9th or 10th. So I'm taking the credit. I'm taking the gold on this one. Okay, well, I actually want to do my deep pick for the upcoming week, which is Dylan Ferrandis has just announced that after coming back from whatever his mysterious illness was, don't know what it was, something French, probably. He had too much wine and cheese. Ferrandis is coming back for the next race. I don't know what his health status is going to be. I picked him up in our league because Ryan finally gave up on him after him not telling us what the hell was going on for the longest time. But I hope he can return to where he was finishing. He's going to be my deeper pick. I'm going to say tentatively a 7th, but we'll definitely keep an eye on him through practice.
Dude, this pisses me off so bad. I held on to Ferrandis for the past like 7 races when he was just freaking MIA, not knowing what was going on because he had an illness. I freaking held on to him, subbed him out every week. And then this week I said, okay, I guess that he's not coming back. There's only 3 more races, so I'm going to drop him. And then that's the week that he decides to come back, and then Kelly picks him up. I'm like, granted, I am out of the like championship, so it wouldn't have like like truly helped me win the like championship, but still it like could have helped me not have to pony up $25 for the prediction point. So I mean, that shit in like fantasy, it just pisses me off when you just have so little information to like go off of, and it ends up just biting you in the ass the week of. So props, Kelly. Do a well with him. Hopefully he doesn't come back to bite you in the ass like he did me all season.
Well, I appreciate your donation of Dylan Ferrandis to the Help Kelly Win the championship fund. But I have to say, I mean, I lost Plessinger last week, and picking up Ferrandis, that's still a trade down.
For sure. For sure. But I mean, like, Ferrandis is fast, and maybe he's like coming back rested, ready to go. I mean, like, who knows if he comes back on the gas. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, who you got for your deep pick? I think that's all we're missing.
Yeah, so my deep pick next week is like someone that didn't have a good outing this week, and sometimes if like you have someone on your team that like gets 20th place, I mean, you could think, oh man, this guy sucks. There's like no way that he's going to finish in the top 10 next week. But actually mine is Daxton Binnick. He got 20th this week, East West Showdown. It didn't really pan out how he would have liked, and he's 9th in the Speed League fantasy scoring. But like really, like if you look at his like finishes this season, I mean, it looks like he has a bad race, good race, bad race, good race. It like goes good, bad throughout the whole entire season. So since he did his worst finish of the whole season, I'm going to ride that trend and extrapolate that he's going to have one of his best finishes of the season coming up next in Philadelphia. I'm going to say Daxton Binnick gets a 6th in like Philadelphia. And I mean, I mean, he has 1 podium and like 2 7s. So I mean, just like kind of thinking, okay, if he like comes fire lit under his ass, I'm going Daxton Binnick 6th. Mark it.
This is a bold prediction. I like it, and I hope you're right because I've got him on my fantasy team. And honestly, I hope that 6 comes in the championship week instead of next week. That's when I'm going to need it more. But I got to tell you, from someone who's had him on my team the whole season, it has been an uncomfortable roller coaster ride with Daxton Bennett, because that 3rd that he got in the first round happened when we had that chaotic blowout where all the top guys basically got knocked out at the first corner, and he managed to pull off the podium. And since then, I mean, his starts are awful. His starts are really, really bad. And he's faster and I think performs better than what his results show, but he's having to fight his way through the field, and he's rookie mistakes, bad starts. It's hard. So look, I hope you're right.
I bet you do. But yeah, I think that's all that we have. Anything else you want to squeeze in here, Kelly?
No, let's do it. We're getting down to the wire. Philadelphia next week. That's an East Coast round. Denver the week after that is West Coast, and then the Salt Lake City East West Showdown May 11th. We'll wrap everything up. Be on the lookout for Fantasy Motocross if you want to keep playing. Obviously, that season starts pretty shortly after Supercross does. We'll be opening up leagues for signups for that, and then the draft will be made available, shortly before the actual season starts. You want to wait to do your draft until all the information about injuries and teams and everything comes out anyways. But yeah, be on the look for that if you want to keep playing.
Kelly, so you said May 11th was the final race. Is like there anything else going on May 11th? It like sounds a little familiar to me. Anything better than the final Supercross race of the season?
My fiance and I booked our wedding venue literally probably in May or June of last year, having no idea that I booked my wedding for the day of the final championship Supercross round. So I'll be up doing the ceremony and the I do's with my phone pulled out down here, just glancing to make sure to see what Cooper Webb's doing in his heat race. But yeah, interesting timing with that one. Where are you going to be that night, Ryan?
I haven't made my mind up yet. We'll see.
Yeah, if my best man at my wedding doesn't show, I will know exactly why. But rest assured, we'll be podding it up shortly after that. Anyways, all right, season's come to a close. Looking forward to it. We will see you guys next week for Philadelphia. Peace.
Good luck, guys.